weird automated voice. Sally, if you would like to nominate somebody, and then we can go around like that.
Okay, I'll nominate Jacqueline.
Just a minute, I've got a big button about this meeting is being recorded. So Jackie Bell, I'm Secretary of Dunbar Community Council, Vice Chair of Area Partnership, and I also Chair of the Local Health and Wellbeing Group, and a board member of Sustaining Dunbar and various other bits. I nominate Parvine.
Thanks, Jackie. My name's Parvine. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the Aging Well Coordinator for East Lothian. So my remit is to encourage older adults to move more as they age, basically. So we host a variety of different activities across the county that just to try and encourage older adults to keep moving. And it's a great way also to kind of support their mental and social health as well. I nominate Dahlia.
Hi, my name is Dahlia. I'm a community link worker at Port Seaton, and I just started on the role. I'm linked to the medical practice there, the harbors, and just trying to find out more what's happening on the area, what's available for the people I will be working, so I can link them with activities. I nominate who is left. Sue, you have to choose. Sue Jardine.
Hi, I'm Sue. I was a walk leader for several years with Aging Well East Lothian. Took a little bit of a break over the last year. So I've worked very closely with Parvine since for the last few years. I was also had a very small part to play in doing some observation in the dementia accreditation for Aging Well East Lothian on some of the group walks. And I am currently just joining in with the Community Connections team that's been established in Aberlady. So yeah, just really looking to try and dip my toe back into things and get back into sort of more volunteering work and things again, and for the rest of this year. So I nominate Lisa.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Lisa Olsen, Interim Strategy Officer. I'm working alongside Christine Johnston, part of the East Lothian Health and Social Care Partnership. Nice to meet everyone. I nominate Sue Northrop.
Oh, you're on mute, Sue.
It's okay. I'm on an iPad with a slidey touch thing, so it goes in and out. Yeah. Hi, I'm Sue Northrop. I am a director and run Dementia Friendly East Lothian with Maya and Hilary, two of my other directors here, which is lovely to see you both. And I'm working with Christine and Lisa on the meeting centres primarily at the moment. And I nominate, who is left? Hilary and Caitlin.
Hi everybody, I'm Hilary Smith. As Sue mentioned, I'm involved with Dementia Friendly East Lothian. I'm also the chair of the North Berwick Coastal Area Partnership, probably more relevant for this group. I co-chair the Health and Wellbeing Association with Lorna Sinclair. And one of the projects that we are running this summer, which is causing me a little bit of stress at the moment, is our first ever walking festival for the North Berwick Coastal Area. Seemed like a great idea, seemed very straightforward. And as usual, these things go arms and legs. But we're getting there. I think we're on course now. So thanks. Can I nominate Carol?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Carol Stobie, the project officer for North Berwick Coastal Community Connections, and we're about tackling isolation and bringing people together. And when our gatherings stopped, we added befriending to our work last year, but also buddy walks, which have been a really helpful thing to add. And who can I nominate that's left, actually? I'm not sure. It might not be pointing the right way for you, but Caitlin.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I'm very dark here.
Oh yeah.
So I'm Caitlin Rogers and I manage Change's Community Health Project. So we offer mental health support across East Lothian to adults. So part of what we do is our Healthy Living project, and that's currently overseen by our worker Heather, who is actually leaving us at the end of this month after 23 years. So that's quite a big moment for us. And Heather, I know, works very closely with Parvine in relation to the walks and various other activities. So we have, you know, that bit of involvement with Parvine's walking groups, as well as that we have buddy walks and we have Nordic walking, and we've also got a meetup group that do kind of informal walking activities. So really keen to hear a bit more about the buddy walk side of things, and that's something that we're looking to maybe expand on, because we've got quite a lot of people waiting for that, and we've not quite got the capacity to fulfill. And Heather will, if someone's popped into the chat, Heather will be massively missed, I think, by everyone. Thank you. And can I nominate, is it Louisa?
So I'm Louisa. I'm one of the community link workers based in East Linton and Dunbar. My colleague Carol, who's based in Dunbar, unfortunately couldn't attend today due to working hours, so I'm going to be scribbling some very poorly written notes for us both to share.
Thank you, and yeah, thanks again everybody for joining. And we do have the chat box facility as well. If people want to use it while the conversation's going on, feel free. But I'll pass over to Parvine to talk about the buddy walk.
Thanks, Maya. So first of all, I just want to say thank you for everyone coming along today. It's lovely to see you. I think I know most of you here, bar one or two, so it's lovely to meet those new faces. As I mentioned, I am the Aging Well coordinator, and part of my remit looks after health walks within East Lothian. And I suppose today I just wanted to kind of bring you all together to kind of have a conversation with you to talk about where this is kind of stemmed from, and potentially getting your thoughts. I know some of you are running buddy walks already at the moment, but just to kind of get your thoughts and see if there's something we can kind of all work together with and take forward. So basically where this has stemmed from is obviously COVID hit and we were stuck indoors, and then things started to kind of open up. And I think one of the biggest lifesavers for Aging Well was walking groups. They were just allowing people to kind of get out in small numbers, meet people again face to face, socialise, and obviously get that form of exercise that we all kind of need on a daily basis. And I think it occurred to me that there was a slight gap in the provision, whereby there were some people maybe not coming back because they were anxious, their fitness levels had decreased. And I thought, okay, well, what is it that's missing then? And having worked very closely with Caitlin and Heather at Changes, something that we don't offer is buddy walks. And we kind of did it informally for a couple of people that really needed the support. But I thought this kind of needs to kind of be a bit more formalised and maybe add it to the programme. And I know there's been a lot of conversations, having worked closely with Maya and Sue, about walking in general and how do we really help those people that need it the most. So obviously buddy walks came into the conversation, and I was having a chat with Maya about this, and I was just saying how I would love to be able to kind of take it on as a big massive project, but I think you really would need to employ somebody to kind of look after a bunch of volunteers, do the pairing, do the risk assessment. You know, there is a lot involved, and you want to make sure you're kind of giving your 100% to them, you know. So I kind of thought of an idea where, you know, again, feedback is welcome. You know, hopefully this will kind of create a couple of conversations here. But instead of having that one sole person that everyone kind of directly contacts with regards to buddy walks, is we all maybe have our own buddy walking system going on within our own organisations, but we're all feeding off the same kind of guidance, I suppose. So I've kind of nominated myself to kind of maybe pull some of that information together and share that with you widely, to talk about, well, what is a buddy walk? How do you go about setting it up? What's the purpose of it? What's kind of what happens after so many weeks of leading on a buddy walk, you know, what's involved, etc., etc. And we basically are just singing off the same hymn sheet, as they say, but we're all working together. And say, for example, I was able to recruit 5 volunteers, Carol was to recruit 5, blah, 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 blah. We all do the same training, we're all reading off the same guidelines, and we're all just there to help each other, but we work solely within our own projects and manage our own volunteers. I think it's a little bit more manageable rather than one person taking on, say we had, I don't know, 20 odd people come forward wanting to volunteer. You know, it's a lot of work. We're all very, very busy every day anyway. And to take that on or give it to one person, it just wouldn't really be manageable. So I guess it was just to kind of bring this to the table today to find out what your thoughts are. Is this something that you guys have capacity for? Yeah, it was just to kind of get your thoughts really and see what we could do going forward. I think most of you are aware of how a buddy walk runs. Just to give you a quick background, it's obviously a one-to-one walk. It's obviously for somebody that's maybe feeling anxious, they're not ready for a group walk, they maybe want to do a shorter walk than an hour's long length of walk. And it's just to provide that support. Again, I believe changes, I think you guys do a 20-week program and you check in after 10 weeks to see if that person wants to continue for 10 weeks. Again, that's something we need to look at. You know, is that a model we want to follow? Is it not? I don't know. And the idea is to build people's confidence up to then hopefully get them to join other groups, other health walks. That's the idea of it, really. So yeah, so I suppose it's just to kind of find out where you guys are at, because I know some of you are running them already. Have you had any conversations around how you would like to introduce buddy walks? It's quite an open conversation today, I guess. It's just to kind of find out where we're at and what you guys think of the idea going forward, really. Caitlin, do you want to say something?
Yeah, and then I spotted Jacqueline, you were there before me. So I'll go after you.
Yeah, because I think it's difficult to see everybody on the screen. Well, I'm also involved with the day centre, so you know, but it's just thinking that health and wellbeing group itself has no structure to be doing volunteer buddy walks, you know, because there's no paid organisation. That I had invited somebody from Dunbar Woodland Group, which is a place where a lot of people walk. It might be something that the day centre outreach worker could sort of look at, because that's part of what they've been doing during lockdown. And that Sustaining Dunbar have had some conversations about encouraging people to go into the woods. But again, they don't have anybody in place to actually do buddy walks. The other thing that we've hit up with things, you know, say setting up, you know, it was say the resilience volunteers that I was involved with locally, that there we hit the whole question of insurance, etc. So we were advised that we should be going under the auspices of VCEL for that, and maybe it is, you know, for all the PVGs and everything like that. So, you know, there is the VCEL umbrella for some of the bittier groups where people aren't from an organisation, you know, like Changes or whatever, that's employing staff. I passed around a thing just before this meeting that Macmillan are now, you know, looking for buddies. I'd invite, you know, so they are saying that they'll give training, etc. I'd invited to this somebody called Susan Forgy from, who she's actually in Haddington, but has been doing support for men with, you know, various mental health strains and things in Dunbar. And part of that was about buddy walks, and the area partnerships funded it. So there's lots of bits and pieces of different people doing different things, all competing for a small pool of volunteers. But it's how you know, if you haven't got somebody paid to actually be doing something for a local group, you know, and funding for that to be sustainable, you know, that becomes more difficult.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that, Jackie. I think you're right. You know, it's first of all finding the volunteers, and then who's then going to, I suppose, manage them. And I suppose you're right. What I'm trying to say is we really need to make sure that somebody in each organisation that wants to take this on has somebody to look after the volunteers. And I guess at a push, you know, if that's something that I have capacity for, I could look after them myself and they could report to me. Or, you know, if someone else in the group has that capacity, it's very difficult to tell right now because we're very early on, but I'm aware that that is a case across the board as well, because not everybody's coming from a paid organisation. Definitely, it's a very valid point to make, so I'll make note of that. Caitlin, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, well, so just this is kind of come at a good time for us, because what we've been looking at is, with Heather moving on, exactly what the buddy walk activity entails and how much time. And so it comes, I suppose, you know, off the back of the point around time and having capacity to do these things. We had really narrowed down to at least 7 hours a week potentially being needed to oversee this piece of work. And that was really on the basis of, we've got 17 people waiting for a match. So let's say we were to take on maybe around 15 matches, 15 to 20 matches. We thought that 7 hours a week would be kind of adequate time to oversee that piece of work. So what we're planning to do in the short term is to offer that piece of work to one of our staff team for a 6-month period, and kind of, I guess, test run, you know, the model that we have in place already, whether we carry on exactly with that model, or, you know, I think we would also be open to, you know, streamlining so that we're all doing something similar. And for that 6-month period, basically seeing how that goes, and whether it's something that we try and seek some funding to continue more long term. But one of the things that we were kind of discussing and exploring was around the walk leader training, and that would certainly be one piece of work, and it's something I'm not overly familiar with, and I've not got that training myself. But I think I'd seen from Paths for All that it was something like £600 for up to 20 attendees. So that would be the exact kind of thing, I suppose, if we were doing bits of training, where if we were to group together, it would maybe be better kind of value. And also it would be a really nice chance for volunteers that might be changes volunteers to kind of get together and get to know volunteers from other organisations as well. Would you see the training as the walk leader training? Would you see that as something that was, you know, an essential piece of training for anyone taking on a buddy walk volunteer role?
Yeah, you have to do the training in order to deliver a buddy walk. If it's going down the formal route, yeah, you would, because there's things about like risk assessment, health and safety. Yeah, it's something. But speaking about the training, I'm probably shooting myself in the foot here, but it's a good thing. I'm actually a Cascade walk leader trainer, so I could deliver the training for free. There would be no cost involved. So that'll save us the £600. So I would be happy to do that. Obviously, or we can sometimes tap into some courses that Paths for All have, which are free. And I'm usually alerted as to when they come up on the system. So I think they've decided to operate online going forward for the remainder of the year. So I would like to hope that maybe come early next year, when things are a lot better, I would be able to get back delivering face to face again, and I would be allowed up to the 20 people. Again, it depends on if social distancing is still in place, etc. But yeah, that's probably a requirement from my end. Like I say, it's different for all organisations. But it's probably something that I would probably mention in the guidance going forward. But again, it's up to every organisation and insurance, etc. You know, things like that. Does that kind of answer your question?
That was one of the things that we found with being told to use VCEL, because during the pandemic for the volunteering, we had cover because it was an emergency. And then for carrying on, that's why we went to VCL, because they were doing training, and getting ID and all that sort of stuff through them.
Yeah. Because am I right in saying, Caitlin, you guys do PVG as well, because it's 1-to-1?
Yes.
We do, yeah.
Yeah.
So we would do an induction to the organisation, so a kind of changes general induction, an induction or training specific to the role, which in this case would be the walk leader training, and the PVG checks. We also do 2 references for any volunteers.
Yeah. Can I just ask, Parvine, the group in Dunbar wanted to set up a walking group, and there were reasons why Aging Well didn't work for them. So I think we need to be clear about what can't go. So people with dementia couldn't go unless there was a carer because of your insurance. There was things about dogs and whatever. So can we just it might be useful just spelling out what this actually would exclude, and then we can focus what it includes and look at maybe some of those groups that are going to be excluded as a result. Just so that we know what those, and maybe those are sorted out now, but that did start a lot of conversations about people wanting to set up their own groups informally because they thought, rightly or wrongly, that your model didn't work. So it'd be good just to nip that in the bud now if we could, and just pin that down. Would you mind?
So the buddy walk shouldn't exclude anybody, Sue. It's for everybody.
But that's what people thought. That's the messages that people were telling me. They couldn't take their dogs on the walk. People with dementia couldn't go unless they were accompanied by somebody. So if those are misunderstandings, then that's really useful. No, absolutely anybody can go.
Yeah, anybody can go. I mean,
Brilliant.
I'm talking about the buddy walks here, not the group walks, because the group walks, dogs aren't allowed for various reasons.
Right. So it's the one-to-one walks, not the group walks, and it wouldn't take all that through. Brilliant. That's great.
Yeah. Because we want to be as inclusive as possible, and I suppose the dementia friendly walks that we have done, there has been specific training, and it's just I don't set the rules, unfortunately. I just have to kind of follow the ones that are given to me. But definitely I would like to hope and think, I mean, Caitlin, you might know more than me. Carol, I know you're doing some at the moment, but we're very much trying to be as inclusive as possible. I don't know how you guys work. I'm assuming it would be the same. Is that right?
One of the things, just a wee reflection, and this isn't just on in relation to the buddy walks, but a lot of our volunteer pool does tend to be an older crowd, which I know is quite typical with maybe people in their retirement. We're really, really keen to try and engage with a younger group of volunteers, and in turn a younger group of to reach young people as clients or participants as well. So that's just kind of been something on my mind around making this an exciting, appealing role for young people, and how we maybe go about how we promote and present it. And I suppose even just things like if the walks are taking place during the working day, then naturally we're maybe going to be that opportunity may not be available to people who are either in full-time education or full-time work. So I think that's something we'd like to bring into this focus, is that diversity in the age sense.
And I think that kind of fits in nicely with a lot, but Sue, you do a lot with like intergenerational work and things like that. And yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. And I know that we've got links with like Queen Margaret University, and tapping into students. And although walks are potentially during the day, we can always look at evening, weekends, we always have that option. Because I know some people do question, why are certain things not happening in the evening or at the weekend? It's definitely something we can consider 100%. Carol, if you don't mind me asking, how have you been finding the buddy walks since you started?
They've been a brilliant asset. For us, they are an addition, if you like, another string to the bow of existing volunteers who were mostly volunteering for befriending. And there's a lot of overlap. We do training for befrienders, and a lot of that applies really nicely to people who are going to do buddy walks and build up a similar trusting relationship. So for us, it complements our work really well. Basically, the demand has gone up through the roof for buddy walks, and therefore I'm trying to persuade every volunteer I possibly can to do that training with Paths for All, because it's so successful and so helpful to bring people out who've not been out for over a year. It's enormously successful, but the training seems to be with Paths for All, it's only ever a weekday morning. And I've got a couple of volunteers who, just what we were saying just now, who can't make that because they work. And we've been kind of directed towards maybe the day centre, because I think they're planning to get some training as well. But if we could organise stuff with you, Parvine, I think that'd be really helpful, more flexibly, and then more volunteers might be able to take part.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, like I say, when face-to-face can resume with more people coming along, you know,
Yeah.
I would be happy to kind of look at whether it's a Saturday morning or an early evening or something like that. I can kind of work that around my day. That's not a problem. So I think it would be good. I think it's just bringing everyone together to find out, well, what is it you're doing, who has what, and how we can then help each other out, really. I'm all for this kind of partnership working as much as possible. I guess what's everyone's thoughts about having it's very similar probably, Caitlin, to what you already use, because obviously I've worked quite closely with Heather, but having like a guidance that everyone kind of works off as to saying, what is a buddy walk? This is kind of who it's for, you know, the ways about, would everyone agree with that? Or do you think, no, have your own one, because we're all maybe different in different ways? What's your thoughts on that?
I think having a kind of guide, you know, a sort of generic guidance, so we're not kind of all doing this, you know, reinventing the wheel, but with a kind of mutual agreement that there will be variation that we all bring in, I guess according to the organisation, but also according to individual circumstances, would feel really appealing.
Yeah, definitely. Even if we had, like you say, a generic document, and if you need to tweak or add depending on, you know, your organisation or whatever, yeah, by all means, that's entirely up to you, I guess. And then the training is obviously the same across the board. That's no different. And I guess it's just, you know, say for at one point, Caitlin, you become swamped and you're at capacity, you could then reach out to one of us that are maybe running a buddy walk to see if a volunteer is available, you know, and it's just, I guess it's just working together, because you want to try and make it available to everybody right away rather than sticking them straight away on a waiting list, I guess. When we first set it up. What's everyone else's thoughts?
Right, so like as the community link workers, we wouldn't really be involved in running the buddy walks or, or that side of thing, but you know, that sort of goes without saying. Our job would be to link people into this and refer them to it. So keeping on the theme of having the core policy that can then be adapted as and when needed by the different organisations. I'd probably suggest keeping the referral process the same for all the organisations to keep it as simple as possible, because the link workers are probably going to be hopefully heavily involved in getting people into the buddy walks. And we all work for different organisations, so to have one size fits all document for referrals would be fantastic, and it would keep the process as simple and as efficient as possible. So I mean, obviously, like I say, we can't help setting up the walks, but if anybody needed help doing the referral form, you know, I'd be happy to, you know, do that, like create the template or something. Yeah, in that way.
Yeah, that's really good. So,
as a community link worker, also maybe a way that we could send you a referral and all of you get the referral, and
that would be that would be GDPR and data sharing agreements on top of each other.
I don't mean necessarily the name of the client, but you can say, I have a man on this age, on this area, anyone available, and we send it to one group, or you have a WhatsApp group, or you have an email group, and everyone can check if it fits on the organization, because at the moment you have to keep calling different organizations, see who is doing the body walk, see who is in your area, who have capacity, and you're just going in circles to try to find for one single person. So if all of you are organizing body walks, have the community link worker, we can send a basic thing with no names, no, you know, just a basic, I need someone for a man this age at this area.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, Dahlia. It's almost like having a hub to kind of inform us all that someone is available. And again, that's another kind of situation we'll maybe need to kind of look at going forward. I think today was just trying to find out, you know, is there really a need for this, and how are we going to kind of pull it together to then, you know, allow for this to kind of go ahead and help those people that are looking for body walks. But it's a very, very valid point. I think we all need to kind of be kept in the loop quite regularly, you know, with the guidance. You know, it's changing every day at the moment, as it has been for the past year and a half. So it's just making sure we're keeping on top of that. And, you know, that's something I'm happy to kind of have a look at and send out as and when is required. But that's good to know. Referral wise, Caitlin and Carol, how does it work with you guys for body walks?
So we would you know, invite people to self-refer to changes. So most of the time folk would come through either by phone or by our web form. We get people, you know, set up on our system, and then body walks would always be one of, you know, the kind of range of activities that we would talk people through. So they get a kind of overview of everything that's available, and then body walks might be identified as, you know, an appropriate form of support. And from that point, they would really be on the waiting list. So there's no formal referral. And at that point, and this is the wee bit that then Heather does, you know, behind the scenes, is when it comes to there being availability of volunteers, she would then be gathering some kind of matching information, you know, around obviously location, but also around, you know, various other factors that will play in, and also that wee bit around kind of, I guess, gut feeling around whether two people might get on or not. So fairly informal, but again, because obviously it's a piece of work that someone else will be taking on, any kind of guidelines and you know, probably formalizing procedures a little bit so that we can put that process to paper is something that we would be looking to do.
Yeah, okay.
Is that similar to yourselves, Carol?
A lot of what you just said is very similar to what we do, so I won't need to repeat that part. When it's a self-referral, we have a lot of self-referrals, but we also get referrals from a range of community sources and GPs and other health workers. And the community links worker, Tara, in North Berwick and Gullen Surgery, we're speaking every week. And she's generating so many referrals that's part of why we're getting into a waiting list situation for the first time. It's very positive. But she completes the third-party referral form for us because she's met the person, and it's really helpful to get the background information before it comes through to us. Other people may or may not be able to do that. If it's a community thing, like a member of the family, I'll usually go through that process with them, either in person or by phone. It depends on the individual case, but always, like you, there's a range of services, whether it's befriending, whether it's coffee connections dates, or whether they just want the newsletter and then they'll see what they feel like later on. There's no pressure. But Buddy Walks is the one that's growing so fast. And even though there's 20 volunteers with the training, there's not enough.
Yeah, okay. No, that's good to know.
Oh, sorry, Parvine.
No, on you go.
We have a staff member who's actually, you know, going through long COVID at the moment. And one of the things that she'd fed in fact, in relation to the discussion around buddy walks was actually how useful that would be for someone who is maybe experiencing long COVID. And it was getting me thinking, because I know there are still a number of COVID related response funds that are open. If, you know, any of us were looking to fund this piece of work, actually going down the route of you know, saying that X percentage of buddy walks may be offered to people that are recovering from COVID, might make us eligible to certain funds. Yeah. And I just wondered whether long COVID, I mean, it's it's not come up for any of our buddy walks existing or requests, but I wondered whether that's featured at all in any of your work. Sue, has that been the case?
Yeah, we have friendship groups there. They're not a service, and I've put a point in about you can't just create a funnel and bring people into walks that you then, people need somewhere to go and to move on to in the community. Otherwise, they're kind of stuck. Read Cormac Russell, social prescribing as a a problem.
Yeah, a lot of these things are sort of short programs. And some
exactly. Yeah.
And
so what we're
how
getting
sustainable is if somebody is still needing the support to go out for walks beyond a 10-12 week program,
yeah, that needs
how
to
you
be
sustain it in the long term.
So people need to understand that and relationships are kind of formed forever as opposed for just for 3 weeks. So we've got people who are coming along to the groups who I don't know if they've formally got diagnosed with long COVID, but they've had COVID and they have long-term consequences and they're still ill, but they're just kind of taking it easy, and they just want they want to kind of really getting out is the big issue there, and getting back. And so people need little steps, and the people who help them make those little steps quite often are friends. And our friendship groups have also been talking about how they know neighbours next door, or people up the road, or people in the same block who they want to get out. And they just say, if they just come and sit in the garden, or if they just come in this. So this whole business about getting people out and about has cropped up a lot in a lot of the conversations we've been having with this project too. And we've been talking to most of the health and wellbeing groups about doing something to help people get out in quite a small way. And some groups have been looking at that. So I think it needs a strategy that there'll be some people who'll be straight in there, but there's the people who aren't the usual suspects, and the people who are even more excluded than before, that we need to think about as well, and what our strategies are for connecting with them. And then how you set people free at the end. You've got them up to speed, you've got them walking, they've got their mates, they've got the confidence. They then go out as ambassadors and whatever themselves in the community. So I think we need a bit of a strategy that this fits in. Nothing fancy. I just think we just need to put a little bit of context around it.
Yeah, we always need to know how long.
Carol, you just got to spell it out to people that this is the expectations are managed, that that it's a service that is limited in its scope and time and support it can give. Whereas friendship,
we are pretty clear, as I've said in the chat, it's only been for a short time, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not been for very long.
I've just been trying to work with a lot of people who are trying to make sense of all the stuff that's going on, and they just need to have it really clear, and we all need to be clear too. So I'm asking the Daft Lassie questions, because if they don't get asked now.
Sure, that's fine. And hopefully that's answered it for you.
Yeah, it's just about being clear as to what it is that we're offering, who it's for, how long it's for, because I think it's a very valid point as well that there has to be an exit pathway at the end of this for people, and whether that's putting them onto an activity or a bit of a longer walk, we just have to make sure. And I think a lot of us, we have those connections anyway, or we're running programs like that, and it's just using each other, isn't it, really, to kind of bring that together. So I just wanted to ask, not to pick on anyone, Lisa and Sally, does this kind of fit in with kind of what you guys do? No, don't jump at once.
Hi there. We wouldn't offer buddy walking for people outside of stepping out, probably. So we have used Carol's wonderful service for one of our members who really, really needed to get out and was really interested in the buddy walking. So that's sort of where we fit with it. We do buddy walking, but it's part of the stepping out service. We wouldn't necessarily call that. We kind of called it walking therapy, so that there would be a good thing to have like a guidance on what you did. And I did have a Zoom conversation with the Paths for All people, and about getting training and things like that, and she mentioned the £600, like Caitlin said, and there's only 3-4 members of staff, so that we couldn't have afforded that. We were really interested in all of our staff doing the walk leader training, that the thing that you suggested earlier. I think it's really good to understand all the risk assessments that go with all that sort of thing as well. So I I don't think we would have capacity to be able to organise our own volunteer system for buddy walking particularly, and obviously with the severe enduring mental health issues we would necessarily have a member of staff there as well. So volunteering in that aspect might not work might work for us. But certainly really think it's such a wonderful idea. I mean, it just helps people all the time, doesn't it? Just getting out and getting the fresh air and having that sort of community connection. And a lot of it is moving, like say, is moving on. Sue was saying that earlier about moving on to perhaps, a walking group and things like that. So we would be interested to hear more about that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like I mentioned about the walk leader training, I think the more people that are trained up, the better, regardless of where you're from. And I think it allows different people from different organisations to offer these, whether they go down kind of a formal, informal route, just to have that background knowledge. And I think what you were saying, if it's something you're not able to manage yourself, then what I was doing previously is I used to kind of contact Heather at Changes if I really needed somebody. And again, it's that partnership working. So you're doing that right now with Carol, and if that's something we have capacity for, then yeah, by all means, send them to us and we'll try and help out as best as we can. So yeah, no, 100%. I think you're right. I think the training is great for everybody. What about yourself, Lisa?
But so I'm coming from the perspective of the health and social care partnership, and I think probably the position I'm in on week 3 in this post is having the visibility of what's out there and knowing exactly what Sue was saying about the strategy behind it. So it's available for X amount of weeks, and there is a clear pathway. And looking at the link workers or resource coordinators, what they can then tap into. And it's all about, creating those community connections, isn't it? And making sure we're not duplicating anything, making sure we're not missing anything. So by all coming together, I would hope that then we could potentially identify gaps in certain areas and we could then strengthen and pull together. That would be what I would like to see out of it anyway. And the intergenerational work is something that's really important, and tapping into the schools. And I know there was some work done before, and we maybe just need to pick that back up again. Links with QMU, who seem really keen. So yeah, just making sure that there's that. It says it's the quality's there, but we've also got it in the right places as well. And I'm happy to connect in with the work that we are doing and the conversations we've been having to make sure that all that bases are covered.
Cool. No, that's good. It's just good to kind of know where people fit in and how we can all kind of support one another. And I suppose, going forward, I think for me the 2 big things for me are probably pulling together, like what Sue was mentioning, this strategy, this guidance, and making sure we're kind of all in agreements with it, I suppose. And if, like I say, you can make your own tweaks as and when you need to, depending on your organisation. And probably, do we have volunteers and when are we putting the training on? They're probably the 2 biggest things that we need to kind of focus on. I mean, I don't know if you would all agree with that. Thumbs up.
I do think though that that there is the whole issue of so many things competing for volunteers, and just say, I've been doing the vaccination hub at Haddington, and that's been coordinated by VCEL, but they now have they're now asking people to do more and more shifts because the pool of volunteers has diminished. People have gone back to work, people are in isolation, and now they are struggling to cope. So again, it comes back to that sustainability of so many organizations want volunteers, but there's a limited pool out there. It's the same with community councils. West Barnes community council has not had a full slate since the last community council elections.
No, I completely understand that, Jackie. I think I'm the same, like every year.
Getting younger people.
Yeah, I think it's just the nature of volunteering. People have commitments, things change. Like I go through it on a yearly basis, but you always find that people come through the door. And I think if you have the right means of advertising, like an example for me is I recently advertised for volunteers and I went through the courier, and that seemed to attract a lot of people. And it's just, I think we all have our ways of advertising, and I think having the contacts so many of us have different contacts. And I think it'd just be good to just shout about it, and we can only try, you know, and even I think we have to start small as well. I think we don't want to start big. I think we have to start quite small, and hopefully over time, as it grows, we can then recruit more and build on it. Again, because we're all so busy, you know, it's a big project to take on for everybody. But I know that there's definitely a kind of need and want for it right now. Yes,
Parvine, can I ask, is there a centralised list of walking groups available for people to move on to that I've missed somewhere? Sue's laughing.
I was just about to ask that, Sally, and also if there was a Facebook page.
I thought you was going to say I sent it round to you. You should have seen it.
No, and a Facebook page, or you know, where you can go and find out walks or something easy like that.
Yeah,
we just start off with. Yeah.
So we had
you could.
Sorry, on you go. Sorry.
I was going to say, maybe this is where can I pop in here, because yeah, that's exactly what the walking festival's about. So yeah, there's a whole range of walks and bits and pieces coming up from that, and I would hope that there was more that came in on the back of that, but it's a little bit open-ended at the moment. I've got a couple of comments to make, Parvine, just because I'm not involved in buddy walks at all, and so it's been interesting listening to what everybody's been saying. And the first is, I understand completely this need to have a strategy to show that there is progression, but I would be slightly cautious about having it as such a linear process, because we all know that things don't work like that. You know, it's nice for people to progress or to go on, but they will always want to drop back in or whatever, and that should be clear from any strategy that comes, that it's more of a network than a pathway. You know, there's circular routes to go around things. And the other part is that actually this is part of a much bigger whole. So the kind of buddy walks are one way of getting people out about and walking. There are loads of others, like the walking groups, like all this. And so all of that will be available at some point in the future. But at the moment, this is what we have and this is what we're working with. So I think it's really interesting hearing what everybody's saying, and it's quite enthusiastic for me, or making me feel very enthusiastic about all of this when we hear about so much good stuff that's going on. So thanks.
No, it's a very valid point, Hilary, because I know people can become very attached, and that's something that we have to be very wary of. And again, that's a lot of it's kind of mentioned in some of the guidance as well, and ways in which to kind of try and not become as attached. But I think as well, the beauty is that we would never let someone go off onto another activity if we felt they weren't ready either. You know, we would make sure that we would help them as much as we could, but without, I know what you mean, holding on to them forever. But yeah, no, it's a very valid point to make. So thank you for that. Does anyone else have any kind of questions or input or at all anything?
I just want to say, like Sally was asking about if it's a face group or somewhere where you can find the things easily. As a community link worker, I find really hard to find what's going on this week, where the things are going on. Are them in Massaboda? Are them in Dunbar? How is this to go? So I'm just spend time searching online, see who's organizing what that week. And that does not help for us to refer people even to the big groups, because you're just searching. And I'm calling organization after organization and asking questions when things are.
Oh, we seem to have lost you, Dahlia. I don't know if you can still hear us, but no, I understand. Sue and I have had many discussions about this before. We just wish there was a central point where everyone would have the information so we could all go and find it. I mean, it's great that there's so much that goes on in East Lothian, but I mean, I think we were almost saying that you almost need to employ someone to come on board to gather all that information. I think we did trial it with one student, but unfortunately that didn't really work out very well.
Well, I did used to employ somebody to do it. Unfortunately, her illness got in the way, and in fact, she'd worked with your predecessor, Aging Well coordinator. So I think it really is worth thinking about getting someone But every time I suggest this, somebody says, "Oh, Strive, it used to be Strive, VSAL is doing it. Oh, the links workers are doing it. Oh, so-and-so is doing it." So at one point, 3 different groups had been paid to prepare a list of what was on. But when I asked people, they all said they weren't doing it. So I still think there's a mystery and enigma and a puzzle around this. And it has been running, Hilary, you will know, in area partnership discussions, Jackie, community also, for years. without getting resolved. I don't think it's difficult.
You know, the whole thing with mental health stuff, that I was at the relaunch of East Space, and part of what they were doing was trying to create yet another list of what's on.
Yes, what happened to that woman?
Oh, well, this was Julie Huggan.
Yeah.
The other week. But it's one of these things that, you know, there was a what's on in East Lothian with the list that was funded by, you know, the area partnerships. But then if people don't maintain things, or, you know, somebody moves job, somebody's worked on it, somebody moves job, and then it becomes a load of, you know, it becomes a load of garbage.
I mean, I'd be really happy when we're thinking about stuff to build in that as something that needs done when we're looking at meeting centres or community hubs and stuff like that, because if that is the answer, as simply as that somebody's het, then it's worth thinking about. But I see Hillary's put a point in about, oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But we found a way around that. We found a way around that.
But nowadays, even with Facebook, you can have a Facebook page where each organization puts the entrance at the beginning of the week on Friday evening. They said that's what we're doing next week. And people can go to the Facebook and check which entrances are there. I don't know if it's easy for people.
Yeah, but
I don't think we're going to sort it out now, because this conversation's been going on for ages, Parvine. But just to say, Lisa, when you're looking at how it all fits together, just know that this is one of these wicked problems.
It's became so apparent, me doing this job and not coming from this area of work, wanting to know the building blocks and what's there, and I just have to keep asking everyone the daft lassie questions, but I do. But it's knowing what's out there, what's available, and at the end of the day, you've got a service user. I want to know, empower them and facilitate them. I need to know the information to be able to do that. And you're right, lists go out of date really quickly. So we need to be quite innovative and think about how we can do that. But definitely that's something I've written down a few times, is we need to look and see what's on, if it changes, something else is created, who's perhaps coordinating things. So yeah, it's something that I've taken back to my team anyway, and we'll be looking at that when we're looking at the meeting centre and other resources out in the communities.
Yeah, definitely. Caitlin, were you wanting to say something?
Yeah, well, what I wanted to add in was, I was chatting yesterday with Melissa Goodburn, who's one of the managers at the NHS. You probably all are familiar with Melissa, and she was talking about they're at the very early stages of rolling out a platform. I can't now remember what it was called. It might have been called Elemental. But it's a program. It probably isn't called that. If anyone can correct me, Sue, I think you can correct me here. And it's going to be a platform, I think, if I've understood correctly, that GPs and link workers will have access to, and it'll be a social prescribing platform. So the idea being all of these types of activities would exist on this platform, and GPs themselves or link workers could use a drop down and click on an activity, and that would somehow feed through to the organisation, and it would remove that need for a kind of referral process, or for someone to have to kind of go on and pick up the phone and contact the organisation directly. I don't really know how that will materialize, because obviously there's so many different organizations, and we've all got our own probably bespoke, or we've all got our own systems for recording, and obviously our systems are not going to talk to kind of an NHS type system, but I wondered if you've any, if anyone else has had any conversations around this and where we might all fit into this.
Caitlin, there's something called Alice. Who's old enough to remember Alice?
Yes.
Yes, right. It's back
next
again.
door to Alice.
Alice, I can't remember what it stands for now, but it's, have you come across it, Lisa? It's an NHS, it's something that's been set up for running for a few years. And it's for GPs to tell them all the things that are going on. And actually, I was talking to to various other community sort of groups like ours, and they are and they're linking into it. So I've actually got a meeting with the Alice guys on Monday to try and work out, as Alice come back from the dead again, and it'll be information system is the IS in in there, and it's supposed to be the basis for social prescribing. So I shall report back when I've got back. I have tried for years to make Alice work and never succeeded.
My one thing I thought about that is not everyone wants to go through their GP or go through, you know, social work. Yeah, so it's about thinking, you know, the hurdles that could potentially create. But yeah,
if somebody's creating a list,
yeah,
then
absolutely,
then that
it shouldn't matter. Yeah, yeah, oh, definitely. I'd be interested about that as well. Okay.
That is transformation, Lisa. This is just exactly
absolutely
the kind of irritating problem that wastes time and energy and gets in the way
for
of
lots of people.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sounds like we need a completely different conversation with this as well. Like,
yeah,
it's been going on for so long now, hasn't it, that we just need to really pin it down. But it's obviously, it shows that we all have the same frustrations, and we need to shout about it, don't we? Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, Caitlin, something will maybe come from that then, or Sue on Monday as well, so fingers crossed. But I see we're just kind of approaching the hour here. I know we're very, very busy, so I suppose, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for your feedback, your input. Next steps, you know, if anyone has anything they maybe not be able to share today, please just contact myself or anyone in the group. I suppose going forward now, I mean, what I could potentially do is, you know, have a look at the guidance, pull something together, share it with you, and then you guys could feed back, see what you think, and then if you know that this is something you want to set up and you have potential volunteers, then we can maybe look at, you know, a venue, a day, a time as to when we can deliver the training as well, if that's something people would be interested in. But, you know, by all means, go off, do what you need to do. If you want to set up buddy walks, go for it. I think it's just always good to kind of feed into each other, share the training, share the guidance, and if anyone's needed any support, then just use each other, because it all seems like we all want to do some form of buddy walking, whether that's referring into groups or whether that's doing it ourselves with the organisation you work for. Does that sound okay just now? I don't want to do too much too quickly, but as long as we're kind of all on the same page, and I can try and share that, you know, over the next couple of weeks and see what happens. Does that sound okay?
And just a quickie, Parvine, as I say, I'd invited Susan Forgy to this because she's involved with the TRA in Haddington and they were doing buddy walks there, and has had the funding from Dunbar Area Partnership because they were doing stuff out of the parish church hall and wanted to get going again. But she came to one health and wellbeing group. We haven't seen her since. And so I don't know how they're actually, you know, they're actually getting on with setting the buddy walks up again.
Maybe that's something to find out for us, Jacqueline, and just see
Because I'm just getting no replies from her.
Okay. What's her name? Susan?
Susan Forgy.
Forgy, right, okay. If you have any details, I can try.
So, you know, they were, you know, so I've got her email address, but it might be that they're needing a bit of support because that was mostly men.
Okay.
Sort of grown out of sort of men's sheds and things.
Right, okay. No, that's fine. But like I say, we'll just keep each other in the loop. I'll send over that information and hopefully you guys can feed back to me. And in the meantime, if anyone has any ideas or, you know, anything, please just share that with one another. Does that sound okay from everybody? Yeah. Thank you so much. Hopefully I've made sense today. But I think it's just a conversation that needed to be had. And I think it just shows from today that people are wanting it and there is a need for it. And obviously, like Carol said, she's now going on to a waiting list. So you can just tell there is people out there dying to have this kind of facilitated for them. So yeah, hopefully that's all right.
I forgot, I did put in the chat that today I met with a chap called Mike Naismith. Mm-hmm. He is being funded by Sustrans to look at stuff to do with active travel.
Okay.
in East Lothian. He's sort of under the transportation part of East Lothian Council. So I was at a meeting for a couple of hours with him and Councillor Hampshire and that this morning about looking at where you need path networks in the Dunbar and area extending out, and also that Paths for All are funding a lady called Diane Hangvan to try and encourage use of active travel and sustainable transport in East Lothian. She hasn't got any money, but she's sort of to be supportive about encouraging people to use trains and things. So we're meeting talking about getting people to North Berwick and Dunbar and such like.
Okay, well that's
people
you
out
could just
there.
keep us posted, Jacqueline. Yeah, definitely. Anything you hear, just let us know, definitely. But thank you so much, everybody, for your input today. I appreciate that. And hopefully, I'll keep you posted and we'll catch up again soon.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Helen, you're on mute, remember?
You're on
Helen.
There we go. Sorry, there's a lot of noise outside, so I keep putting the thing off. Yeah, sorry, I've got just one brief thing to ask of people. From organising this walking festival, I've been trying to make sure that at least some of the walks, a proportion of them, are fully accessible. And actually, that's caused me a lot of issues when I realised just how inaccessible some of our places are. So I just want to basically put that into the whole buddy walk thing as well, that if you come across routes that are totally accessible, it would be useful to flag them up. Indeed, if you come across routes that are totally inaccessible, even though they should be, so no drop curves, the camber of the pavement's wrong, all of that kind of stuff, I think it would be really useful to start logging this stuff, because there's, we need to make sure that at least our pavements in our towns and villages are accessible to people. So
yes, that's just the sort of thing that Mike Naismith is going to be looking at, because I was talking. One of the things I was raising this morning was the problem of lack of drop curbs, or say a brand new cycle path. If you're coming out of a housing scheme, there's no drop curb to actually get onto the flash new cycle path, or dirt tracks in woods, things like that.
Yeah, it's a very valid point, Hilary. I think there's a couple of websites I can maybe share with you actually, and one I was just sent the other day that I wasn't aware of, and it shows you clear, accessible kind of paths and routes, so I can definitely pass that on to you. And yeah, you can have a look at that and see if that helps at all as well. Definitely.
Thank you. I think we're sorted now, and I've had a few people testing the routes, so that's good. But it is amazing just how many aren't suitable. So it's good to start logging all of that, I think, for future work.
Definitely. No, thank you for that. Well, lovely to see you all, and lovely to meet some new faces, and hopefully catch up with you guys soon.
Cheers.
Thanks, Parvine. Lovely to meet everyone.
Thanks very much.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.